Hello, we're here in Trafalgar Square in the heart of London to launch a very special arts competition.
Over the next 6 weeks, we'll be travelling across Britain and Ireland in search of a fresh new artistic talent. Welcome to the very first Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Year.
Our journey to this first of our national heats began when we invited artists from all over Britain and Ireland to send us their self-portraits.
Nearly 2,000 people entered, but only the very best were selected by 3 expert judges. The first 21 of those have been invited here today.
For some, art is a paid profession. For others, it's simply a lifelong personal passion. But for one lucky winner here today, there's an extraordinary opportunity. Along with the winners of the Scottish, Irish and Welsh heats, they'll see their work displayed at the National Portrait Gallery.
And after a further set of artistic challenges, including a trip to Paris to paint a portrait of author and model Sophie Dahl, they'll take part in the grand final, where our judges will be joined by National Portrait Gallery Director Sandy Nairn to select the ultimate winner.
Whatever the style, whether it's more expressive, whether it's tighter and more realist, the underlying thing is, can you get that person on canvas? Can you bring them to life for us as viewers?
And for our overall winner, a remarkable prize, a £10,000 commission to paint one of the most successful authors of our age, Hilary Mantel.
The portrait will become part of the permanent collection of the British Library, a lasting legacy from our search for artistic talent.
So who has what it takes to become our Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Year?
Behind me, 21 artists are washing their brushes, sharpening their pencils, and in one case, cracking open some eggs in preparation for a unique artistic challenge. They'll be painting some famous sitters in the makeshift artist studio behind me in the first round of this very ambitious and very public art competition.
The artists taking part today come from all over England. They range from 17 to 70. They were selected from over 1,800 entrants by our 3 distinguished judges, who will each be looking for different qualities from the overall competition winner.
Our first judge, Kathleen Soriano, is one of the driving forces behind the Royal Academy. As the Director of Exhibitions and formerly at the National Portrait Gallery, she's overseen scores of the most prestigious exhibitions in our national life.
Well, I'm hoping that the portrait will be a great work of art, first and foremost. But secondly, it needs to have a real sense of the humanity of the sitter.
Our second judge, Taishan Shirenberg, has won the most coveted awards in portraiture, and his works in the National Portrait Gallery include lords and royalty. He will be able to give us an insight from the perspective of the painter.
I don't want an artist, of course, who knows what they're doing and churns out the same painting again and again, but I do want to know that the artist is confident in their language and how they see the world and how they're going to explain the world to us.
Smart and savvy Kate Bryan knows today's art market inside out. Head of Contemporary at the Fine Arts Society, she can tell what collectors are looking for right now and guide our artists on the road to commercial success.
I'm looking for something contemporary, something innovative, and something that stops me in my tracks and makes me want to keep looking at it.
The artists enter the competition by sending us a digital copy of a self-portrait. From these, our judges selected a shortlist to compete in our 4 heats. This morning, our judges have the chance to see the original paintings for the first time. They have been hung on the walls of our specially erected gallery in Trafalgar Square.
The colours are lovely on that.
The colours are lovely. I hate the composition. For me, it's just too mugshot. It looks like he's just been caught drink driving.
What? Oh, because of his red... No, but you can see he's actually here. You can actually see he's sitting there. He's deep in observing himself and trying to get the right tones. It's a study in concentration. It's lovely.
I love it. I think it's fresh, it's young, it's contemporary. The palette itself is not like anything that we've encountered so far.
What I'm really enjoying about seeing it in the flesh is just quite how accomplished she is about knowing when to stop.
Now, is this as you remember it?
As a painter, of course, I like to see the stuff of paint, and I like it to be nice and juicy.
I think the competition's really interesting, this sense of narrative that we feel like we're definitely being told a story here. We're not making our mind up at all. I think this is an artist who's really allowing herself to play a character in this painting.
She went to art school, but then left and raised her children, and here she is going back to it again and sort of really enjoying it.
It's very fresh, isn't it?
Very fresh. This for me presents quite a strong contender. I think this could be a really great painter. I love the restraint, again, the of knowing when to stop, of just leaving it, just that really kind of jagged line across the throat.
But that is a convention, isn't it? There is a convention of portraiture which is unfinished in that style.
OK, what are you going to look for? Where will your own eye go first?
I want there to be some sort of story that is either real or imagined that brings that picture to life for me more than just the static paintwork.
So, Ty, does it matter that portraits should look exactly like the person?
As a painter, of course, I'm interested in both aspects of the portrait, not only its likeness or its sense of reality or humanness, but for me it's also the filter which the artist has used to convey that message. So, on the one hand, you know, I want to believe in the person I'm looking at, believe in them being alive and being in the real world. On the other hand, I'm really fascinated in how the artist has been able to do that.
Before today's competition to find our first of 4 finalists gets underway, the artists have a chance to size up the competition. Britta is a mother of 4 boys. She works as a children's book illustrator.
There's a great variety here, and that's a surprise to me. I think it was a pleasant surprise seeing all the different mediums. You know, you got watercolor, acrylics, and oil, and I think they're brilliant, all of them.
Obviously, there's some brilliant paintings as well, but I know mine's different to everybody else in my particular style, so I've got as good as a chance as any, you know, so yeah, it should be all right.
A lot of it is very detailed. I'm not sure that's going to fare particularly well in this environment. Like, the people with much looser style, it's going to suit them a lot more.
Some really amazing work here, some great artists. Can only hope to do my best, and yeah, good luck to whoever.
Got to plan your time and keep an eye on the watch, and yeah, I think I'll be all right.
Everyone's really good. It's a bit scary.
Up until this point, the artists have no idea who their sitters are going to be. So it comes as a surprise that 3 of the country's best-loved actors are taking part.
The versatile Alison Steadman, who's enchanted us with everything from Abigail's Party to hit series such as Gavin and Stacey.
Award-winning Juliet Stevenson has starred in productions including Truly Madly Deeply and The Village. She has also brought along her son Gabriel, who has very wisely brought his iPad.
And Robert Lindsay, who starred in everything from Richard III to hit comedies My Family and Spy.
Let me introduce Kate Bryan, who is the head of contemporary arts at the Fine Arts Society, and you're going to be posing the legendary Alison Steadman.
Yeah, wonderful. If you actually probably better with your hands down slightly, I think, whatever's comfortable. I mean, does that feel quite nice?
I think they just need you to fix on one point so they can then know that you're going to be there for the next 4 hours.
So once I've set,
yeah, that's what
then
you'll be
I
like.
Don't move.
That's yeah, then you don't move.
Can I ask a question? Isn't it a bit unfair that they're painting 2 people and everyone else gets 1?
Well, the double portrait, the group portrait's a really important part of portraiture, and I think that sort of relationship between 2 people is quite interesting for the artist to play with. But I think it's important that you realise that you should paint what you can manage in the time that you have. No one's going to be penalised for doing just 1 figure or 1 face rather than both.
We'll get there. No. I tell you, when I was at art college, it took weeks sometimes to get it right.
You're serious?
Yeah. So let's get on with it.
We've only got 4 hours.
I know.
Artists, you now have 4 hours in which to paint the sitter in front of you. You'll be judged on that, but also on the self-portrait that you submitted to enter the competition.
OK, so pick up your paintbrushes, your pencils, your pens, your charcoal sticks, and good luck.
With breaks each hour and a stop for lunch, Planning how they use the time allowed will be vital.
I thought, I don't care if I win or not now, at least I've painted Juliet Stevenson.
Do you find it quite unusual, the amount of photographs they're taking?
I was quite shocked. One of the guys got out his iPad and he was a bit worried. He didn't quite know whether he was allowed to do that. And once he set the precedent, suddenly all the other cameras... But what I was surprised about, because I felt it, I come from this art school that had life rooms. I felt it's cheating a little bit, but none of the other people seem to be bothered by that the neighbour is using cameras. So I think it's just another language.
And probably quite prevalent. Maybe I just hadn't realised. Yeah.
Kathleen, you posed Juliet and her son, so what's going on here?
It's based on a painting by Manet of Monet and his family in their garden. And she herself had identified this painting. She'd been to see the Manet exhibition at the Royal Academy and spoke about how much she loved it. So we then had the idea that we'd involve Gabriel in the painting as well. So it was wonderful that he was able to come and sit there with her and have this sort of fantastic recreation, or evocation, really, of the original painting.
So, Kate, this is your composition, this pose with the deck chair and the... Is there a rationale behind it?
When I thought about Alison, I thought she's so well loved and down to earth and always plays these witty and charismatic characters.
Yeah.
And of course, I did think about that fantastic beach scene on Barry Island in Gavin and Stacey, where they're in deck chairs all day.
Ty, how did you set about putting Robert in that pose? It's quite a complicated pose.
Well, I suppose an actor is a portrait artist of sort. They inhabit lots of different personalities. And I was thinking, what is it like for an actor to put every ounce of their energy and imagination into a role and then go home to a domestic setting?
But he's also a good-looking man, isn't he? And he's very relaxed.
Yes, he is. But I actually thought he's got such a wonderful, handsome head. It would have been also very easy to just do a very close-up, just a portrait of his head. And I think some people have actually honed in on just his head because it's so good.
Even in this section with 7 artists, the variety of how people have approached it is amazing.
I mean, we're early on, we're early days, and actually it feels like everyone could be in a completely different part of the country doing something completely different, and yet they're all standing right next to each other, and that's the real beauty of art. Everyone's got such a unique perspective.
We're nearly an hour into the London heat of the Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Year competition. Our artists have only 3 more hours to paint actors Alison Steadman, Robert Lindsay and Juliet Stevenson.
21 artists and 21 very different approaches to the task ahead.
I love that some people are very calculated, like mathematical, and then some people...
That's really interesting, actually. I mean, it's very revealing, the way that we're feeling like we don't want to...
Well, I think for non-artists, you want to believe that it's this very natural process that just flows out of people. But in fact...
There's so much you have to use to help people to get
it's
there.
very detailed, structured, planned thing.
This first group of 21 shortlisted artists are competing today for one of 4 places in our finals. They are all ages and from all over England. 36-year-old Kevin Atkins has travelled 200 miles to be here from his home in Cleethorpes.
I was born here in 1977. I went to junior school here, upper school here, secondary school, and then I went to college in Grimsby and art college, but I dropped out of there. First pictures of Cleethorpes, the seaside town. It's beautiful, as you can see. Second pictures of Louise, my wife. We're married now for nearly a year. It'll be a year next month, but we've been together for over 11 years now. I don't know if she's seen the picture, but she's going to love it when she sees it. It's really flattering. I work, as part of work and pensions, in a call centre in Grimsby. It's mainly taking inquiry calls regarding people's benefit payments and things like that. But obviously the drawing is what I love doing, and that's what I'd like to make a career out of and a living from at some point in the future. yeah, being involved with something like this, it's definitely an experience. It's an amazing thing. It's just brilliant to be recognised for doing something you love. I think that's the happiest people on earth can say they're doing that, you know, and just be a part of that. It's absolutely amazing.
How's it going, Kevin, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's going all right. It's taking a lot quicker than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd take forever.
Yours is an incredibly distinctive style.
It's mainly like doing comic books and things like that, so that's where that comes from, just like bright colours and adding any shadows and things like that.
Because a couple of people said to me, oh, it looks a bit like Julian Opie's work. You know, the guy who does the blur artwork?
Yeah.
But I said, no, because I read lots of comic books and it just reminds me of comic book art, which I think is incredibly underestimated.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because it's a very beautiful thing.
But the portrait competition is not the only reason we've taken over Trafalgar Square today.
This is the first of 4 very special Sky Arts Portrait Roadshows, celebrating portraiture in all its forms. Thousands have gathered here today to learn from the best at special portrait masterclasses.
Visitors here today are getting the chance to have their heads modelled in clay. And for those who are brave enough, there's a chance to have a portrait to hang on the wall of the downstairs loo.
I won't say it's beautiful, but it's accurate.
We've also got an artist in silhouettes, which was once a popular form of portraiture as an affordable alternative to a formal portrait. The artist is Charles Burns.
Can you get the character of a person in a silhouette? Because you can't see the eyes.
You can't see the eyes, no, but I think there's something about the shadow which captures a lot about a person's character, almost sometimes more than you can get in a photograph.
All right, I'm not too apprehensive, but you're now going to do a silhouette of me.
I'd love to do a silhouette. So I'll need you standing here, and I need you facing to the front that way, so I can see a profile.
Right.
And you can keep your hands sort of clasped.
I always have glasses. Can you do glasses?
Yeah, I can do the glasses. If you can hold the glasses sort of naturally in your hand, as if you were just chatting to somebody.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to be standing at about this distance from me,
right.
so I can hear you all right. The scissors I'm using are surgical scissors, which I adapt slightly. I file the points to help me work inside the paper, which is important sometimes for doing small details. I'm coming to the end of what's called a first cut. Then I'm just going to go back round a second time and put in a few
So the first cut is a sort of outline.
The first cut is the outline, and then I go around again making small holes in the paper to show little bits of hair or the space inside your thumb where you're holding the glasses, things like that.
Oh, we've done it.
They're all done, yes. Yeah, this is you.
That's looked enormously like my glasses. That's so clever. Oh, I'm clever. Give me a kiss.
Oh.
That really is good.
I'll pop that onto a card.
Can you see that? Fantastic. Well done, Charles. Well done.
The winner from today's heat will go on to compete against 3 others from Scotland, Ireland and Wales. One of them will be crowned Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Year and go on to paint a portrait which will hang in pride of place in the British Library.
It's a big occasion with a strict time limit. And with about 2 hours to go, the pressure is getting to some of our competitors.
It's a little bit tricky. He tilts his head quite a bit, so it's difficult to kind of, like he goes that way, then it's difficult to like line it up, but I've tried to compensate for that.
This is Kinga Marcus, who runs a clothing boutique and rekindled her childhood passion by studying art as a mature student.
My hands are shaking a bit, but they've calmed down a bit now, but yeah, it's just trying to get the drawing right, which it's just, I don't really know, I'm just painting to see what happens. I'm trying to draw it out, really, just get everything in place, and before I start putting more paint on, otherwise it get too muddy too quickly.
I'm just trying to pace myself and not listen to anything going on around me, so I think it's fun. It's really nice to see other people's work. It's always good to paint in a studio situation, I think. Get to see other people's work and kind of egg yourself on a bit.
Louis is working away with what seems like total conviction, but so far there's little sign of any recognisable image emerging.
I haven't quite got the likeness yet. As you can see, it's just colours and shapes, but that's how I work. And then just get tuned in. I'll just sort of try and find the edges and just see if I can get some relationships, colour and shape. And then hopefully she'll appear somewhere on that canvas.
Louis has come here today from his home in Basingstoke, where he's able to make a living from his artistic talent.
I'm a banknote designer, and I came into banknote design quite by chance. I dropped out of architecture school and was looking for a job, and there it was on my doorstep, and it's taken me around the world. I think everyone has a certain amount of luck in their lives, and mine came all at once when I found that job. My first sketch is of a bullfighter called Luis Miguel Dominguin, and that's who my mother named me after. The second picture is of a tennis player. The guy hasn't got any hair. It could be anyone, but I like to think it's me. The last sketch is of my mother, and she's always been a massive influence on my life and just encouraged me to try and do my best in whatever I took up. And when you get told that at a young age, you never forget it. This competition would give me the opportunity to paint, to show my painting to a wider audience. I am a bit of a show-off, and so I love that side of it. I mean, I see painting as quite a private thing, but I am quite proud of it as well. It's sort of what I am.
It's a gorgeous palette you've got there.
Thanks.
Really beautiful.
Well, it's just what's out there.
It's exciting so far. I mean, just seeing everyone working at quite different paces, very different styles, very different approaches, and yet they're all tightly enclosed working together. It's fascinating, actually. I deal in art, but I very rarely see portraits being painted, so I'm loving being on this side. Rita, who's behind me, actually did the self-portrait of the woman ironing, so she's mapped out a massive composition, but now she's got quite a challenge ahead of her because she hasn't really done much with the face, and so far, in the way that she's blocked out the colours, actually, she's making Sid look a bit old.
That's how you're judging this, so what have you seen so far?
Well, a great variety. I mean, it's really exciting to see the variety of way people have approached the portrait, first technically, but also what they've seen in the sitters. So they're very good likenesses, but very different likenesses, so that's very surprising. And there are a couple of people you realise they've been doing it long enough that they have a process. And in that process, they've come on quite far. But some, I'm afraid, I can see are floundering. And I've seen this around, that maybe they haven't done it long enough, or they haven't developed their own style, and maybe the nerves have got the better of them, and they haven't quite found any structure to their painting, and I'm very worried about them. But we've got some clear front runners who obviously done enough portraiture to know how to build it up. There's one in particular who started tonally, so he hasn't had to think about colours. He's just blocked in the beautiful head of the boy bending down, Juliet's son, Gabriel, and her, and he's blocked it in grey and white, and I think we'll see him adding colour. So he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's got very far with it.
You're suggesting that experience really pays off?
Yes, and a sense of self, where you know what you're interested in, how you work, how you're responding to the sitter.
Part of the challenge facing a portrait artist is to capture something of the sitter's personality. And who better to give us an insight into the real Robert than his daughter Sydney?
He's fun, he's loud, he's dramatic, of course. I'm allowed to say hypochondriac. Sorry, Dad. I would probably say this one, just because it's quite sort of moody looking, not as in moody grumpy, but it is a little bit grumpy, but I think it's just captured the way he looks, and it reminds me of when he was in Richard III. But then there's this one over here which is quite abstract, and if you look at it for a bit longer, then it kind of morphs into him. And then there's one round there which I've had to go, oh my God, because it really looks like my granddad. Well, they say that you all turn into your parents, so I don't know whether I'm heading that way.
The very different styles of the artists appeal to the very different tastes of the judges. So, just over halfway through the competition, we're lining up for some disagreements.
I think Rosalie's work behind me is fantastic. But that could be because I come from a more traditional
Thai cakes like that.
Background. What is wonderful is her looseness, and she captures the likeness in rather broader strokes than you would if you were doing it from a photograph, where you'd be honing in on details. What she's seen in Alison Steadman, the sitter, how she's decided to portray it, I really like that.
I'd worry that Rosalie's work is too traditional and too familiar, and actually, certainly one of the things...
I think it's great. I think she might be a contender.
Artists, you have 1 hour to go.
The youngest semi-finalist in our competition to find the Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Year is 17-year-old Kemi Anobole. She's still a student and came here today from her home just outside London.
I live in Bedford with my mum, my dad and my brother and sister. My dad's a jazz musician and my mum manages him. We were home educated till the age of 11, and that was great because we were allowed to concentrate on things we really loved doing. So for me that was kind of art and music and everything. I didn't realise I was good at it until probably like the start of A-levels. I was dyslexic up until a point, and it's kind of gone down as I've gotten older and everything. So I think that was a way for me to do things, was to do art instead of kind of reading, because I hated reading. My first sketch is of my family, my brothers and sisters and my mum and dad. It captured something about us all. They're all looking in different directions, and there's my parents looking very kind of together at the front, and that's how I always think of us, in that way. My second sketch is of me playing the piano, which I love to do. It's a very different outlet to painting, but it's something that I love just as much. Portraits seem to be timeless. You have things from the 1500s that people are still looking at and understanding the people who are in them, and kind of guessing what they might have been like from those paintings. So I think that's something that you want as an artist, for things to be timeless. I think I need to hurry up a bit on the second portrait of the boy next to her and tie it all in. I don't want it to look like two separate portraits. Some people would have 20, 30, 40 years more experience than me, and I only really started painting about a year ago, so it's quite exciting.
With around an hour to go before the end of the competition, the pressure is on. While Kevin's particular style has allowed him to produce a work which is well on its way to a completed portrait, Louis is still working hard to find a recognisable form emerging from his delicate brushwork. Britta has managed to make Alison look less like someone's grandmother, and Milo's picture is now recognisably Robert Lindsay.
What's interesting is sort of making 7 silent relationships with people I don't know. I feel that going on all morning, which is really interesting.
I've not looked. When we had a break, I deliberately didn't want to look. I thought I owed it to the artist to kind of finish. But I'm really intrigued. I'm dying to see.
Well, of course, as a woman of my age, I'm always worried about looking too old or too fat. So I've slipped a few fivers, and they've got to paint me really slim and looking about 35, so that's fine.
You've got the main structure in now. You haven't put in the dark red in the back. Is that? Do you think it works better without it?
Yeah, I think I might leave the dark red out. To be honest, just put the crown in and just bring it together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you blocked in the shirt and the scarf.
Yeah.
So you're going to constantly keep going back to the head and try and get
yeah, I need to sort the head out and just define it. Put the
Okay, good luck. We won't keep you any longer.
When you did this, you started with those first big strokes, and you felt like someone who wasn't frightened of the canvas.
I was shaking.
Were you shaking? I couldn't see that from where I was. You looked very bold.
But I've got big brushes, which helps. So.
But I think you are. I think you are quite. You feel quite good about it, don't you? Come on. Is your plan to will it remain sort of that slightly unfinished feel?
I don't know.
You see, I love that feel. I think too many people finish their paintings generally.
Yeah, I think I never do though. So maybe I should try to. But
And is this your job? Is this what you do? Full stop. You paint.
Pay my bills when I can actually pay them. Yeah.
But that's so. When people say to you, they meet you at a party and say, "What do?" You say, "I'm an artist."
I said, yeah, colouring.
That must be great to say that.
Yeah.
Michael, you're Alison Steadman's partner. You're looking upon pictures of your beloved. What do you make of them?
I think they're absolutely extraordinary. I think I've only had a pretty quick look, so I haven't been here that long, but I've seen them all, and I'm just, first of all, amazed at the skill to do this in one day's sitting, and the variety. I mean, sometimes you think, oh, there'll be a standard of portraiture that everybody will fall into a pattern, but they are so different, and I think they've all captured something of her.
With the final deadline looming, some of our 21 finalists have paced their day's work well, but others are feeling the pressure and are struggling to work out how best to use the remaining time.
So, I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. It's terrible. It's so muddy. It's horrible. But, you know, it's fine. This brush here, it's my favourite brush. I guess it's my best friend, and it's also, you know, my worst enemy because I use it too much. I've used it way too much in this. I've just done the whole face, rendered the whole face with this tiny little thing, and it's very stale, and it's just not. Yeah, very unhappy.
We've not got long to go now, so you must have favourites. Do you have favourites? Ty, do you have favourites?
I think Kemi's been really strong throughout. She seems unperturbed. She started with Juliet on the right, left space for Gabriel, Juliet's son, and I thought she wasn't going to get around to it, and she's just sort of stormed through. It's a very unaffected kind of way of painting. It's very direct, and I really like it.
The person I've been keeping an eye on all day is Milo. He's really struggling with the left-hand side of the face. But what is there that is good is very, very good. One person who has had a completely cut day, morning terrible, afternoon fantastic, was Kinga. This morning it just was not working, it was muddy, it was a mess. And this afternoon I think she's really pulled it back. There's some red in there, there's some stronger lines, she's anchored the whole painting. It's looking pretty good now.
I didn't realise how exhausting a process painting for this long is. The level of focus, it's like being a test match batsman. You have to absolutely, at the end of it, they'll just be wrecked, I think.
No, I must say, I've been surprised. I mean, as a painter, I should have this level of focus. I don't always, to be honest, and they have been phenomenal. They've been totally unperturbed in their time, and there are crowds around them, and they don't seem to be affected at all.
Artists, you have half an hour to complete your portraits. Artists, you have 1 minute to go. Artists, it's time to put down your paintbrushes. Time is up.
It's not just the judges that our artists have to please today. Before the judges pick their winner, we give each of our celebrities a chance to pick their favourite to take home with them.
That's so fantastic. You look so much more relaxed than I do. Look, you look so chilled.
So good.
Wow. So you did kind of get as near to finishing as you thought you would, or?
Well, I'm happy where it's finished.
Wow.
Can I pick this up?
So, Juliet, Gabriel, I take it you've discussed this together.
After some agonising, we'd like to take this one. It's something very beautiful about the relationship between the two of us, and it's sort of, I think what the artist has tried to do is represent the whole day, so you're very aware you're in a sort of constructed situation.
Well done. You've certainly pleased your sitter. The judges may not agree, of course.
Well, no.
But it's a great thing to please your subjects.
It is.
I've chosen.
All right, show me which you've chosen.
I've chosen this one. I think it's Rosaline. It feels familiar to me.
So congratulations for being chosen. Well done. Well done. And well done, everybody. Thank you, Alison.
Well, I'll give you a clap now because you've all been excellent. Thank you.
With that. OK. Well, it's yours. It is fabulous, and it is so you. No one could see that and not know it was Robert Lindsay.
Not know it's Robert Lindsay?
Yeah, no, it's you.
Now comes the serious business of choosing a winner. First of all, we asked the judges to give some words of advice and encouragement to each of today's contenders.
It was great to see you at work, the way you were using that technology.
Kemi, I've never seen anyone paint in a whole figure so quickly. I saw you execute this in about sort of 10 seconds, he suddenly appeared. I don't spend a lot of time looking at people painting, but that was a real privilege to see you just create someone. It's fantastic, the energy is great.
Marnie, I watched this all day, sort of coming into focus and going away and coming into focus again. And his face changed all the time. He's like really watching a living human being.
Kevin, this was great fun to watch come together, and all the highlighter pens and all these kind of very graphic materials to produce a work here that's very different to a lot of the other artists today.
But now the judges are asked to pick a short list of 3 from today's 21 competitors.
Well, the judges have shortlisted 3 artists. So as your name is called out, would you step forward, please? And the names are Lewis Morris, Rosalie Watkins, and Kinga Marcus.
Now it's time for our expert judges to choose the winner of today's national heat. It's a tough decision, so they have a final discussion with the artists to help make up their minds.
Yeah, it does, and I think I just get the feeling that if you had a lot more time, you would have tended to work up a much more finished.
As to finished, I'd refine relationships
Okay.
in there. Whether it would start to look more photographic, I wouldn't want it to. And there are bits that are actually finished, and I'd just investigate a few other areas. But it is what it is, you know, from the day.
So you weren't intimidated by approaching a portrait where the size of the heads was absolutely minuscule?
Do you know what? There was a few dodgy moments where I lost. Well, that's the same with all portraits. You lose it and then you find it again.
Yeah.
And then once you've got it, I just sort of punched the air a little bit and then just thought, don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Well done.
Thanks.
It wasn't the composition that I initially wanted to do. It's just to take a risk and just go for it, which doesn't always work, but
No, I like a big head with lots of paint, so I was very excited when you started this, and then I got terribly worried for you as it sort of moved around. But then you didn't actually force it. I knew you were panicking at some points, but you didn't seem to force it. It evolved very naturally. So well done. You just let it, happen over the day.
Well done.
No, it's fantastic. The light is very beautiful. A lot of people commented on the light and the volume you got in there, and of course the lightness, which is extraordinary.
It's quite a soft setup. So I kind of kept I put a wash in, and I thought actually I'll just stick with the wash because it was the way it was lit was quite soft.
And that sense of the study, where you sort of are drawn into the face in that way, and yet you have the unfinished around it, I think can still be a really, really powerful thing. That notion of the unfinished is still interesting, really interesting.
And having watched her all day, this is exactly how she looked today. This was the expression that she was holding. This was the sort of, not the default position, but just a very characteristic face of her, and you just captured it beautifully. That's what she looked like all day. And it's got a lovely energy to it.
The artists are asked to withdraw while the judges discuss their final verdict. We're minutes away from choosing today's winning portrait and artist.
as I'm looking at them, I get different favourites every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It keeps changing.
They really, in my mind, they've been changing all day, actually. But this one always stands out to me. Louis' painting is a fantastic painting. The composition is gorgeous. I mean, to be able to create such a captivating portrait in really 1 inch squared of canvas, I'm pretty impressed by that.
A lot of us thought it was fantastic in his abstract manner, but what happens if he's given more time to do a where is he going to go with that? Is he going to keep it loose?
I think we know from his self-portrait that he can do a really, really good job on it in putting it together and making it more detailed. And these two are very traditional, I would say, sort of art school.
What is...
of a
OK, I can
type.
see that that's traditional, but why would you say that's traditional? The colours, possibly?
Yeah, it's to do with the palette, but also the technique, the sort of blocking, the large brushes.
This one, for me, I feel like I have to say that this could have gone either way. At the 11th hour, she could have fluked her way in or taken herself completely out of the running. And you saw her grappling with it, and she finally got the portrait right at the end, and it could have not happened.
The one of Alison is incredibly competent.
Yeah.
You know,
And you know, for a long time it was my favourite,
great.
but it's of a kind, this unfinished.
Yeah.
And you know what? She had that very soon.
She clearly has a style,
She definitely knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's
no
doing,
doubt
but I
she
just
knows
think,
what
but
she's doing.
if you told me who she was going to paint next, then I could imagine the painting in my head. Whereas with the other two, if you told me who they were painting next, I wouldn't have any comprehension of what it might look like.
Okay.
The judges have reached a decision. The winner of the London Heat of Portrait Artist of the Year is... Louis Morris.
And our commiserations, but congratulations also to Kinga Marcus and Rosalie Watkins. Well done.
Oh, we felt really great.
We shrieked. Yeah. And we felt very proprietorial about him by the end of the day, you know, like almost one of the family, you know.
Yeah.
I thought the other artists were amazing. When I saw their work at the start of the day, I thought this is going to be a tough competition. And it was also different as well. And I love the way I paint, but you look at the other people's work and you can't believe how many different ways there are to make a portrait. So I was very impressed with the other artists. So I'm even prouder to be standing here now.
I really think Louis who won. I was admiring that from the start, and he just nailed it straight away, and I love his composition. I think he did a brilliant job, so yeah, excited for him.
I feel obviously disappointed, but very, very happy for Louis who won. I think it's a very deserved winner, and I know he's going to go on and do an amazing job in the final.
Still a bit dazed, to be honest, but just so proud and happy. Yeah, I can't put it into words just yet. Just feeling pretty good right now.
So who will Louis face in the final? Next week we'll be in Glasgow, where our artists will be painting portraits of actress Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones, Paralympian rugby star Michael Kerr, and actor John Hannah.